Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. Today we're going to be testing out the hill climb ability of the Apollo Explorer 2.0. And what better place to test this out on than the steepest publicly accessible paved road in the Phoenix metro area. Folks, this particular incline is going to have us going up grades up to 23%, which, if we're being honest here, is going to be more than what most people are going to encounter on any of their day-to-day rides. Unless, of course, you live in a place like San Francisco where you've got insanely steep hills at every corner. So what we're going to go ahead and do is test whether or not this scooter has what it takes to make it up the 23% grade. And if it does, we're going to test out the brakes because, as the saying goes, what goes up must come down, and you want to make sure that your brakes are up to the task of slowing you down coming down an equally steep decline. And of course, at the very end of it, I will do a side-by-side comparison of the Apollo Explorer 2.0 to the Ninebot Max G3 coming up this same hill, and we'll do the same exact thing with the Apollo Go. And at the very end of it, I'll leave you with a chart that'll show you how this particular scooter compares to many of its competitors. So what do you think? Is this single motor commuter scooter going to make it to the top? Let's find out. All right, folks, so we are out here on the Apollo Explorer 2.0, and we're going to see if this single motor commuter scooter has what it takes to make it up the steepest publicly accessible paved road in the Phoenix metro area. Now, we're going to be doing this test in Ludo mode, which is the top speed mode on this particular scooter, and I've also got the maximum acceleration settings set to 10 out of 10, which is going to maximize our torque and acceleration, which is exactly what we're going to need to make it up this incline today. Now, Apollo does claim this scooter will make it up grades up to 25%, and this particular incline is 23%, so it should be a pretty good test for that. Now, keep in mind, I do weigh in at 200 pounds, and I've also got approximately 6 pounds of gear on me, so in total, we're looking at about 206 pounds. All right, we're coming into our first steep grade here. We made it through that, and here we go. In Ludo mode right now. Right now, our speed is right around 13 miles an hour. We're still making our way up here. We'll know we're in the steep section as soon as we see the sharp curves ahead sign. There it is. And here we go. Throttle's all the way in, folks. We are slowing down, but still making it up. Steepest section is still ahead. I'm showing 1,500 watts of power on the screen. And here we go. 23% grade. Are we going to make it? We are slowing down right now to about 7 miles an hour or so. We're powering through. No alarms or anything yet. We're still working our way up. All right, folks. Looks like this Ludo mode is definitely taking us up right now. Here we go, we got a little ways more. It's gonna mellow out a little bit here. Single motor Apollo Explorer 2.0 made it up this 23% grade, folks. Fantastic. So as you can see, this Apollo Explorer 2.0 made it up this incredibly steep incline today. And I'm gonna go ahead and give you a quick look at what we climbed up today. So I don't know how well you're gonna see it, but we've got a road snaking all the way up here, and this scooter made it up. No kind of cutbacks on power, no overheating alarms, nothing. It was nice, smooth riding all the way to the top. And as you can see, beautiful view of the Phoenix metro. We've just gotten like 5 or 6 days in a row of incredible rain, and so happy to see some sunshine. All right, folks, so welcome back. As you saw, the Apollo Explorer 2.0 had no issues making it up that 23% grade, but as I said in the beginning, what goes up must come down, so we're gonna go ahead and test out those brakes right now. All right, so we are off to the races. Now, this is a full suspension scooter, so it's got the same suspension setup as the Apollo City Pro. It is a little bit of a noisy suspension, but it does a good job of eating up some of the lumps and bumps in the road, so that's going to be the most important thing for me. You know, of course, we'll be testing this out a little later on more bumpy terrain and some other videos, but we're coming down here. I'm using the regenerative brake here on the left, which is what I love about Apollo scooters, and it's doing a fantastic job at allowing us to control our speed coming down this steep decline. So like I said, it's currently set to 7 out of 10 for regenerative brake strength. We could always crank it up to 10 if we wanted, but this is more than sufficient, even coming down a steep grade like this. Now this scooter also has a front drum brake, which you can see right here. That's also going to give us some stopping power. And keep in mind that when you pull on this brake lever here on the left-hand side, it also engages the regenerative braking. So you're always going to have two-wheel stopping. And even this is able, to slow us down quite a bit. But it will get quite a bit steeper on the way down here. All right, you can definitely hear that drum brake in action. Let's switch over to the regen brakes. Yeah, these things are nice and strong. Definitely allowing us to control our speed coming down here. And that's, regen coming out of a single motor in the rear. And so that's doing a fantastic job. I think every single other Apollo scooter I've ridden has been dual motor. And so this has got very good brake strength for coming out of a single motor scooter. We'll zip on through here. It's going to get steep again. We'll switch back to our drum, see how that does. And at the bottom, there'll be a stop sign. We'll see if we can get to a complete stop. Switch over to the regen brakes. Right now, regen's all the way in. And we're gradually slowing down. And it looks like we can come to a near complete stop. So very good regen brakes. And it helps charge up that battery a little bit. So it's always a plus. See if this drum and regen combo will get us to a stop here. And it does. So as you saw with the downhill leg of this particular ride, the Apollo Explorer 2.0 allowed us to confidently control our speed coming down with that front drum as well as rear regenerative brakes. I think both did a really good job. With that being said though, when you're coming down an especially steep decline, it's really important to control your speed. This is not the time to be bombing down a mountain, because if at any point in time I had to stop, if a car pulled out in front of me or whatever the situation might be, my stopping distance is greatly increased. It's going to take a heck of a lot longer for me to come to an abrupt stop. So if you are going to be coming down an exceptionally steep hill, just pay very close attention to your speed and just be aware that if you are going to have to stop in a hurry, it's going to take quite a bit longer to come to that stop. Now that we know that this scooter can make it up a 23% grade, how does it compare to a scooter like the Ninebot Max G3? Well, let's watch this clip. Folks, so welcome back. As you saw, the side-by-side, it's very close between these two scooters. The thing that I primarily look at is the slowest speed that the GPS records when going up the incline. And the Ninebot Max G3 slowed down to between 4 and 5 miles an hour, whereas the Apollo Explorer 2.0 slowed down between 5 and 6 miles an hour. So it was able to maintain a higher clip through the steepest section. With that being said, if we look at point-to-point performance, at the start of the steepest section all the way to the end of the steepest section, the Ninebot Max G3 does complete that distance in a shorter amount of time. However, as soon as it gets to the very steepest point, that 23% grade, it bogs down to 4 to 5 miles an hour, whereas the Apollo Explorer 2.0 is able to maintain that 5 to 6 miles an hour. And so if I had a 23% grade that was consistent, and I was testing both of these scooters on a grade that maintains 23% over a long distance, this Apollo Explorer 2.0 would be the winner. And so for this particular test, looking at that lowest speed, the Apollo Explorer 2.0 does come out ahead. But for less intense grades, I think you're going to find that the Ninebot Max G3 is able to maintain a higher speed. And just remember that the Ninebot Max G3 does have a higher top speed of 28 miles an hour, whereas this scooter has a top speed of 25 miles an hour. All right, so how does this compare to the Apollo Go? Well, Apollo does state that this is the better hill climber. So although the Apollo Go can go faster, on paper up to 28 and my test up to 27, it doesn't have as much torque, and therefore it's not going to have as good a hill climb ability. But we're going to go ahead and test that out. Let's go ahead and watch this clip. So as you can see, it is considerably slower. It's still in that 4 to 5 mile an hour range. And I say 4 to 5 miles an hour because the GPS that I'm using is measuring whole mile an hour increments. And so the Apollo Go was likely right around 4 miles an hour, so the Ninebot Max G3 was closer to 5. Same thing with the Apollo Explorer, closer to 5 to 6 miles an hour. And it's pretty obvious the Apollo Explorer 2.0 is in fact the better hill climber. It was able to maintain more consistent performance throughout the entirety of that hill climb. And of course it made it from point to point significantly faster. So how does this Apollo Explorer 2.0 compare to a lot of the other single motor commuter scooters I've tested on this channel? Well, as you can see from this diagram, it's pretty much middle of the pack, which is absolutely fantastic. Because if we were having this conversation 2 or 3 years ago, the conventional wisdom was, you want, a strong hill climbing scooter, you have to get a dual motor scooter. And that was right. You couldn't argue with that. But nowadays, you're getting a lot more bang for your buck with the single motor commuter scooters that are coming to market, which means a heck of a lot more value for consumers like us. And more importantly, you're not having to pay an extra premium for something that you might not always use. And it just happens to come in a nice, lighter weight, compact form factor. But anyways, I hope this was all helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns. Happy to address those in the comments section below. And as always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.